That was awesome. That was awesome, John.
There we go. Taj Mahal and Keb Mo.
Keb Mo. That was great. So all of this live captioning. Excuse me. There you go. Verdell, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm there.
Okay.
All right, I'll talk to you later, okay? All right, bye-bye.
You're listening to Recovery Radio, and we're here in Spring Mills, Falling Waters, West Virginia, and John Cases, he's down in Bolivar, West Virginia, and you're coming through pretty clear, John. Yeah, so that song you were just playing, what was the name of it?
All Around the World. It's I think Keb Mo did it. I don't know who wrote it.
That's all right. That's all right. We get it.
Yeah, somebody wrote it. But anyway, they started this collaboration about a year and a half ago with Taj, and I saw Taj when I was like maybe 22 in Philadelphia.
You're only 22 now.
He must be 75, 78. He's got to be up there. He's looking like having fun though.
Yeah, they're still playing. They're still playing.
Oh yeah, they're still playing. That's a blues. You know, Taj kind of reinvented the blues. You know, if anyone can, he did.
Okay.
And remember, I saw him. It was at the Mann Music Center, I think, in outside of Philadelphia, and he came on the stage. Must have been 5,000-10,000 people there. I don't remember exactly how much. And he just brought a banjo.
Yeah.
On just him.
Mm-hmm.
And,
came out there
and everybody was, being kind of rowdy, et cetera. And they all just cooled right down.
Yeah.
And he had the whole place in the palm of his hand with him and the banjo. It was very cool. Memorable, silly, mystical man. No question.
Yeah, it's a lot of people on stage up there.
He's got a good set. This was from Colbert's Late Show.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think it was one of the last ones they did before they, went on stay at home thing. Yeah. So anyway,
yeah, I'm like, hey John, I like that cool water behind you, man. My wife and I long for that kind of thing.
Oh man,
let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and get started. Yeah, we have with us this morning on Recovery Radio a very, very, very special guest. It's a personal introduction I'm getting ready to make here so that I can ensure that my evening meal will be cooked to perfection. With us this morning is Verdell Moses Boyd. She's married to yours truly. And we're going to talk a little bit this morning about our lives together, how she, just came into being, how she got to West Virginia, some other things. Good morning, Verdell. How are you?
Good morning, James Boyd.
Yeah, that's a rhetorical question. So you okay there to share this morning? You're looking beautiful, by the way. So here on Recovery Radio, let me provide a little bio for our listeners, so that they can kind of be familiar with you. Verdell, in her bio on Facebook, says she worked and newly retired from Walmart Distribution Center. Verdell hails from Newark, New Jersey. She went to Central High School. We now live in Falling Waters, West Virginia. And so Burdell is just such an interesting human being. And now I'm gonna maybe provide you with some questions, but I'd like you to tell us a little bit about yourself and what are your aspirations? What are you looking forward to in the next year? Go ahead and take your time and, you know, just gather yourself and talk to us a little bit about you.
Well, thanks again for having me on your show, Mr. Boyd. Well, my aspirations for New Jersey is to put boots on the ground, to just get back in service and to reacquaint myself with New Jersey and to find some old friends that I missed.
Yeah. What about, talk to us about Central High School. That's in Newark, New Jersey. That's where you went to high school, right? Very interesting stories down there with Central. Tell me about some of your cheerleading years.
Oh, wow.
As a cheerleader.
Well, to top it off, I started cheering maybe about 5th or 6th grade at Queen of Angels, which is in Newark, New Jersey, on Belmont Avenue, which is in the central part of New Jersey, in Newark. That's where I really got started cheering. And I remember my sister Mary Moses Hunter was our coach, and we was in a cheering contest, and we won first prize.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So and I went to Queen of Angels from the 1st to the 8th grade, and then I went on to Central to continue being a cheerleader at Central High School.
At Central High School. You started at Central, but West Virginia is where you got your high school diploma, isn't it?
Yes, I went back to school in 2006 and got my high school diploma, where I made the paper. That was very exciting because it was so many of us. And I was the 7th one to give my speech. And that was awesome. That was really awesome.
Well, can I ask you a couple of personal questions to get you to share so that our listening audience will, you know, be sensitive to an issue that you're dealing with? You had some health issues recently. Can you tell me about those? What happened to you?
Well, I think it was 3 years ago, I had my first stroke. And I remember it very well. James and I were just in our bedroom relaxing and talking, and all of a sudden my arm was just wailing, just going back and forth. And I got off the bed and tried to contain it, but it just wouldn't stop. And I tried to get back on the bed, and that's when my leg gave out on me. And it's a very scary feeling. And my daughter was living with us, and I remember James telling my daughter to dial 911, and they was asking her so many questions that James told her to hang up the phone, and I will put her in the car, and we will just go to the emergency room, where they took me in immediately and started to work on me.
What kind of work did they do on you, if you can recall?
I had to do an MRI and had to do they had to call the doctor in Morgantown to do a telescope, or how you say that when you...
Telehealth.
Yes, yes. So I needed to get some medicine in my system, because I think they said after so many hours, the medicine wouldn't work. So thank God I was at the hospital. I got to the hospital in time to get the medicine. And I stayed.
Was this the clot busting medicine, they call it? The clot busting?
Yes.
So they gave you that. And so what happened next, if you can remember any of it? Because I know we came home and you got better. And
Well,
you went back.
Days, I stayed in the hospital for about 4 days. I
Mm-hmm.
stayed on intensive care for about 2 or 3 days, and
Okay.
I had a little speech, and my right leg was a little numb, but everything came each day. Things got a little better.
Because God is good. So let's back up a little bit, because before this happened, you had gone through some surgeries since we got here to West Virginia in 2003. So one of the surgeries was the knee surgery. How's that working out for you?
Well, unfortunately, the knee surgery, I believe the knee surgery went well, but because of other issues that I was dealing with, that I went to a nursing home that wasn't ready for me. And they kept me in the bed too long, so my knee locked up. So I just have well, it could be a big issue, but to me, it's just a small issue.
Amen to that, sister. So you persevered.
I still walk. I can't bend it like it should be bending, but the only way to correct that is to go back in that knee, and I'm not ready to do that.
Yeah. We're gonna work with what we got. So let's fast forward a little bit. So you had the first stroke. Now we come to the second stroke. How did that manifest itself?
Well, first of all, strokes, it can be your eating habits or it can be your stress level. And I believe both of them played a big part, stress. But I'm learning now that strokes can kill, and I'm not ready to die. So I'm learning more to eat proper or better or wiser. But with COVID round, like we some of us are just eating what we got or eating what we can.
Yeah. That's a really good point you bring up there, Verdell.
Still being mindful about my health. That's like an everyday thing now. So yeah, strokes are very dangerous, but stress even more dangerous. So
yeah. Any disruption in the things that soothe us can kill, because the disruptions can become fatal. The strokes not only kill the physical body, but they kill the emotional self as well. And then, and so the emotions is what I'm learning. I'm learning that, and this is, to everybody who would listen to the living with a stroke survivor, as a husband, you have to take into consideration a lot of things. And one of the things is what we like to do on Recovery Radio is to enlighten people. We like to expose people to the truth. And what better way to get to the truth than through personal experiences? People can give you all the books and literature, but until you've walked in a person's shoes, there's just so much that you can do. So Verdell, tell me a little bit about, because this is Recovery Radio, give us a little bit of information about your addiction story. Tell us, because you're glam and fab and you look beautiful at this time, and you really are carrying it well, especially for this brother for the last 20 plus years. Tell us how it all started for you with addiction, and how did you get to the place where you are now in your recovery?
Well, about 33 years ago, I decided to go into a rehab, and it lasted 21 days, and it was the best 21 days of my life. I dabbed in a little marijuana and went to barbiturates, as they used to call it back in the day, tumanols, sucanols, Severs and codeines, syrup, heroin. But I think the addiction that took me downhill was that mighty cocaine called, I didn't like crack, so I like to cook my cocaine.
What's the difference?
Crack is whack. as Whitney would say,
cocaine is okay.
Whack, you know. Okay. So I think my worst enemy was learning how to cook it and smoke it. So I think the crack had a lot of speed in it. Too much speed. Would have you ripping and running and going here and there. But, you know, through it all, and I have to take my hat off to my hero, my sister Cecilia Fox. One day she saw me and she said some words in my ear, and it stayed there. And the words was, if I didn't get myself together, I wouldn't see my kids anymore. And that next week, I found myself going to my old church, Queen of Angels, looking for my pastor. But I believe in the back of my mind, I was going to get money and not to really to seek help. But he wasn't there, thank God, because I knew I could have got some money from him. And on my way down the street, I ran into a very good friend of mine that took me home and got on the phone and called East Orange General Hospital and got me a bed. And
how easy was it for him to get to bed at that particular time?
It wasn't easy. I mean, if I can remember, it wasn't easy at all, because this happened probably maybe that Friday or Saturday, and that Monday, I believe, I had a bed.
What year was this, if you can recall?
I believe it was March of 1987.
So from Friday to Monday, you had the 2 days in between, but Monday you was in a bed in a rehab.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want to just stop a minute, because I want you to keep that thought, because we'll come back to that story. I want our listening audience to understand the years and the time, and I guess you have to look at the geographical location. That it only took Verdell, or took the person, a couple of days to get her a bed. And was this person an official person, like a city councilman, or was he?
Matter of fact, his name is Henry Hamilton. He was involved in recovery. He was a counselor in a place called Newell. I believe that's the name of it, Newell. And yes.
Okay. So just look at the time, and if you can kind of compare that to the work that you and I are doing here in the Eastern Panhandle as a couple in terms of recovery. What the struggles here in 2020 are basically worse than the struggles that you had in what was it?
19,
finding a bed.
March of 1987.
1987. So that should be some sort of indicator, you know, for us. It is for me as to how much work that needs to be done, how much work. But I can tell you there are some people here in the Eastern Panhandle who are dedicated to that cause. So Verdell, getting back to your story. So you went into the rehab and you wasn't just in a program, you went in for treatment.
Yeah.
And you got the treatment because you accepted it.
Yes.
And how's that working out for you?
Well, they gave you some tools to use, and I use the tools to the best of my ability. And when when it was time to go home, that was the hard part, because in the treatment center, which is a hospital, for 21 days, you know, you secure. That was your blanket. But when it was time to go home, I was a little fearful, because in the rooms they teach you people, places, and things.
Mm-hmm.
So the place was my house. That's where I mostly got high at, in my house. And the people were still there. The playground was still there. So once I grasped that and said, you know, new places, new things, new playgrounds, you know, that was new to me. And I found some new people. I found some new playgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And my dear friend, Mr. Hamilton, you know, helped me and showed me the way to, you know, to go to the meetings and to do what I need to do to keep my sobriety. 90 meetings in 90 days. I probably did 200 meetings in 90 days, you know.
See, that's a key component. That's a key component. I want to highlight that. The thing that you just said about the 90 minutes, but you went above and beyond. So that's the treatment part kicking in. Mm-hmm. You know, that's so a lot of the clients that I deal with today, the distinction between the two is being jammed together, and it's coming out as a fraud because you're in a program. The treatment didn't kick in yet. So they say 90 minutes in 90 days and you go to 200 meetings. Did you have to go to rehab a second time?
No, sir.
Now, I want y'all to get this, because if you can get the suggestion, which is 90 minutes in 90 days, and instead of doing 90 meetings,
there you go,
90
sir.
days,
there
90
you
days.
Go.
If you can get that, and instead of doing the 90, you did how many? Probably estimated?
Whenever the doors was open, I was going in them.
That is the treatment part. It's
just like the doors of the church is open. Doors of the church should always be open. So come on in.
Mm-hmm. You wrote a song about that, didn't you? You want to sing it?
Won't you go ahead, Mr. Boyd?
No, I just enjoy my time with you, sweetheart, even on this venue and in the house and what we're doing, and you know, as a couple here in West Virginia. You know, but sadly and fortunately for us that we're able to move on, and you know, I don't think that God is disconnecting us. He's just giving us the broadband platform. So now, how long have you been in remission? Like you said, you started you went to that rehab in the 90s.
No, sir. It's 1987. March 6th of 1987, and I came out in March 26 or 7, around that 21 days.
It was the best 21 days of your life, you said, right?
Yes.
So, thus far.
I became the mayor of my little town. I came in there. I believe when I came in there, they thought I was just coming to visit or to check on the place.
Oh, because you had on your gear?
Yes.
You always dressed to the T. I mean, so that was good.
Today,
so tell us about the support system that you had, because you said you were a little fearful, but you did have a support system in mind, right?
Yes, my support system was my family, the community that I came back to, my next door neighbors, the people in the rooms, that sincere about the rooms, you know, my sponsors, you know. But most of all, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That's what kept me full speed ahead. That I wasn't going to turn back, because the world could tempt you to go back, but it wasn't. Recovery was not a part of my plan. Relapse. I meant to say relapse was not. Relapse was not a part of my plan.
Yeah, just so you broke all the norms. You know, you didn't relapse. You didn't do recidivism. You didn't go to multiple rehabs. You did get sponsors, and you kept it moving. So when did you immerse yourself in church after rehab? How long after rehab did you immerse yourself?
The doors is always open. As soon as I got home that Sunday, I was in church.
Amen. Amen. That is so good to hear. So when we met, you know, to your credit,
Lord help us.
I love making you smile. So we're at probably 15, 20 minutes to right now. You got anything you want to add? You got any questions you want to ask our beautiful guest this morning?
Yeah, hold on. Let me make myself visible. All right.
Hey, you see that virtual? Go ahead.
No, I just it's wonderful to hear a success story, you know, especially coming from considerable adversity. And I'm so sorry to hear about the stroke. My father died of a stroke, and he suffered. But there's different kinds of strokes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and he had one in his brainstem, which affected his gag reflex, and they really couldn't. There was a lot they could not do, and it was tough because his personality changed a little after the stroke. You know, he had less, what do you call it, affect? Is that the word? There's a word. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, so I hear your struggle, and with that disease, I know that's a very tough thing, and I'm so proud that you rose above it. You know, that's a big deal.
Yes.
And of course, I mean, it's interesting because we got a pandemic, right, going across the country, and a lot of sickness of different kind. But although I don't know, I'm hearing stories of some of these children in New York that we just had Lori.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hi, Lori.
Hey, Jens.
Hi, Lori. How are you?
Good.
Anyway, I'm just. I think the disease issue is so profound, and it's interesting that both the addiction disease too. I mean, you have like pandemics inside the pandemics, right? I keep using that phrase, but I'm so glad that I'm sorry you guys are going to New Jersey, even though my wife's from New Jersey, and
what part?
But
what part? Yeah, I know you told me before. What part of New Jersey?
She's from around Bridgewater.
Oh, South Jersey.
South Jersey.
Well, central. It's not too far from Somerville, and
okay.
kind of central. Her dad was a professor at Rutgers.
Okay.
He was a physicist, So we used to, now, and it's interesting, you know, we used to have all kinds of, all of his daughters acquired religion in one degree or another.
Mm-hmm.
But he was your typical 1950s physicist.
Oh.
You know, he would keep asking those questions at dinner tables and drive everybody nuts. You know, skepticism. And finally, his daughters would get so frustrated with him that they would just, you know, they would tell him to shut up. You know.
Uh-oh. Sounds like James, but he's not a physicist.
Anyway, so it's good to hear you talking about your experience.
Yeah, yeah. So Verdell, back to you. How has life been different for you since you got into recovery? Good, bad, and indifferent. Let me have it.
Well, because I've been recovered and I see things clearly now. I don't have to I don't know the right word to use, but life is good, you know, without the use of drugs. You know, after been clean for so long, and raising the kids and getting into the workforce, life is good. Life has been great. So I thank God for my past, but I thank God more for my future.
Amen. 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 So, question: what do you believe that drug addiction, is a disease?
Yes.
Or do you think it's a moral failure on a lot of people?
It's a disease.
And what makes you believe that? In your own words.
It's a disease because when you have a disease, you need help to fight it. This is something that you alone can't do by yourself. So it's a disease, and that's the bottom line. And we all need to come together and realize that it is disease, because if we can shake it off that easy, we wouldn't need each other.
Right.
So it's definitely a disease. Definitely.
What adjustments have you made in your, in your behavior and your thinking and the way you feel since the pandemic first hit? Because I noticed that you're adjusting pretty well. A little bit snippy at times, but.
Excuse me? What did you say?
I said a little bit snippy at times, but.
Of course, dealing with you, I can be snippy.
Okay. So what are some of the snippets that you can recall?
You're just asking to be a booth there?
Yeah.
So
you want to be on this radio again?
So listen. So since the pandemic has hit, name some of the frustrations that you felt.
Well, staying in the house, number one, and with the mask, I don't like it, but I know it's good. It keeps me safe. But then I also wonder, because a lot of people don't wear masks, and they believe it's not airborne. So I'm like, do I put it on or I leave it off? But just for to be safe, I keep it on.
So vote. You took a vote with yourself, just like the elections are coming up, John. It's a matter of choice.
Yes.
Right. So I think that for me, I'm going to keep it on until I feel like it's really safe to take it off. Because if you don't have a really robust immune system. Go ahead, John.
I think that's all the science says that it is airborne.
Yeah. Oh, it is?
Yeah. See.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's droplets, but although there's also stuff they don't know yet. I mean, every time I hear what's this governor in New York, Governor Cuomo, get on the air, right? And he always he seems to be, trying to tell people the real deal. And there are things happening that aren't fully explained by the airborne thing, but it's definitely airborne. I mean, most people are getting it through droplet, people sneezing and things like that. Okay, so, but there may be other issues as well. They don't understand why some of these children are dying, for example.
Right. Yeah,
Okay?
that's scary.
Well, they have organ damage and heart failure, you know, as a child,
Yeah.
which is really, you know, concerning and difficult to.
Yeah. There's a young lady that died a week after having a baby. She died, and I believe it was in New York.
Right. So, so there's stuff they don't know, but there is stuff they do know. I mean, they're learning.
Yeah.
20-some thousand people have died right in New York City, right? I mean, it's.
You know, and when you look at the number of deaths, and they show you the number of active cases, and so the death toll alongside the testing and then the cases, those numbers, the number of deaths seems small in comparison to the overall number.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it is that I'm one person. So if there's 20,000 people that have died, and I was not one of those 20,000 yesterday, well, my number could be up tomorrow if I don't, you know, use what's necessary, what's available to me. And I think that social distancing and facial coverings is the way to go now. And like you said, John, it is airborne. And I think people might need some factual data to prove that. If they believe in. Someone told my wife and I that it wasn't airborne, and we kind of said, maybe that's true. At first, we said that, but neither of us took off our facial covering. But we did hear that information, right, Burdell? Well, someone
just
said
word
it.
of mouth, something that came out of her mouth. But that was the first time I heard a person say that.
So if it's airborne and someone sneezes 12 feet from you,
good morning,
Sean, there's my son. You see, hello, everybody. John, you are a master, John, at this. I really love the engineer that's orchestrating this, so hats off. Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Recovery Radio. I have my wife and my son is on the phone, and your name again? This is the young lady that I'm looking at, John. John, you have people unmuted or muted?
John's muted.
John's muted. Hey, Ray Sean, so I'm gonna hire you as the engineer.
Oh, now okay. I
screen.
unmuted myself. That was stupid. Okay, sorry about that.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hey, you guys want to introduce yourselves one at a time? We're gonna start with you, Ray Sean.
My name is Rashawn Penix Wick Boyd. Choose what you want to hear. I'm the son of James Boyd, but I listen to you guys talk about COVID. I'm in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and we're one of the hot spots for COVID. We had one of the Smithville meatpacking plants that kind of shot us way up, and it is airborne, and the disease can last, I think, 18 to 28 hours on a device. So it is a serious thing. Like our state is opening up, our governor is not taking it as serious as some of us would like. It's a real thing. And I was listening to you, John, talk about the kids dying. The problem is it presents like a regular cold at first. You get fluid in your lungs, and that starts to attack your lungs. So by the time, it gets bad enough that you have to go in, the damage is already done. So the smartest thing people can do right now is, so just if you feel sick, stay away from other people and get tested. Get to a doctor when you feel bad. Obviously, in places like New York and a little bit more dense than we are, where people are right on top of each other,
yeah,
it's harder to get tested because there is a little bit of hysteria going on with it as well. like here, you know, we got tested and everything. I work in a public place, so we've taken all precautions. A lot of vitamin C, a lot of vitamins to boost your immune system. But if you're immunocompromised, you got to stay at home.
Yeah.
Like that's just how it is right now.
That's right.
I saw all the vitamin C has been gone from Martin's food store ever since this thing began. I got some at the very beginning, and I go by and I look, and there's no vitamin C anywhere in the store.
But Amazon will ship it to you in one day.
Oh, they will? Well, that's how I got my toilet paper. I ordered industrial toilet paper.
You got some
and they sent me
toilet
these rolls to go
Walmart
into, you know, I mean, I won't need any toilet paper for 2 years now, you know. But.
So we have another guest, and I haven't heard from her yet. You want to weigh in?
Lori?
Yeah, I'm Lori Ogden, and a member of the Jefferson Board of Education, and one of the coaches, and I just known James a long time. And so when you sent the message out, I thought I'd come and hear what your perspective is today.
All right. Well, Lori, welcome aboard. Welcome to Recovery Radio. And
are you in Jefferson County, Lori?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, John, you're in Jefferson County. You don't know Lori?
But I'm not going to school still. I don't know.
So,
what are they going to do about opening the schools? Is the governor going to do that? I couldn't. It wasn't clear yesterday when I was listening to part of his report, but I couldn't.
Honestly, at this point, we don't know. We're going to move forward with whatever the CDC and DHHS guidelines are, and we're working with the health department and emergency services. And we're meeting with them every week, and we have about 37 contingency plans, depending on what may or may not need to happen. According to the guidelines now, we can't fit all the kids in the classrooms. So we're going to try to have a diverse plan for people who are, you know, a little bit hesitant to send their children back, and try to continue with virtual learning into the future, as well as, you know, whatever other options we may have. And just trying to make as many plans as we can to meet the needs of all students as long as we need to. And with the cross-border legislation that was passed last year, that may be needed as well for, you know, it gives us an opportunity to begin to educate students even in the state that may, you know, need some help or are looking for something more and have the same issues.
Do you have the technical infrastructure to be able to do remote learning? I mean, my son lives in one of my sons lives in San Diego, and they have the school system there, or at least a lot of them are they're well equipped to handle remote learning. But I know that's not true in all areas. My daughter lives in Montreal, and they're pretty good there in Canada. But I've heard different things. Different states have, you know, very different levels of technical integration, or whatever the right word is. How are we doing here on that?
Yeah.
This question is,
go ahead.
We've done all right. We definitely can get better, but we've taken polling. We have enough to what we call fill the gap now, right? For the kids who, like my daughter did not receive any kind of a device because we have one. But for those who don't have one, can't get one, what we have maintained and gotten the supplies needed to be able to meet the needs of all students and frankly staff, right? Because some of our staff, with the pay that they're getting, they need help too. They can't go out and buy $1,000 laptop. They utilize what was given to them at the school. So our first goal was to get our staff equipped and the professional development to provide for them. So this is going to be an ongoing process for her. We had a 4-year plan, was condensed to 3 months due to a pandemic, but you know, it's going and it's ready. And our next goal is to work with Comcast and Frontier and some of the other services that we have to create more hotspots and retrofit some buses and put them across the county, different places that may be needed for Wi-Fi, be able to get accessibility for families who can afford that as well.
Yeah. So
That's
Ray
good.
Sean, how are you guys faring out there in terms of the education piece, the school board? How's it going with the boys? Huh?
We have Mid-Continent, which is just like Cox Cable or whatever, and they actually gave out, for people that didn't have it, free internet for learning, college students that still needed it. We won't be opening back up schools because as of the 14th, all the schools would be done. They have virtual graduations going on, and we've been doing drive-by graduation parties and everything. But yeah, the learning, it was unusual, to say the least. Like, the kids had fun with it, having Zoom conferences like we are, but you know, it seemed like busy work. It honestly was not that challenging for them at all. And I know my boys kind of missed the social aspect of it. It was harder for them to do homework because, you know, everybody else wasn't doing homework and they had all day to do it. So it was not. They missed the social aspect of the learning.
So how you managing that? You juggling that as a dad?
Well, well, trying to relearn some of the math was that was frustrating. Trying to relearn math. But we did some stuff. They learned some life skills, money management, and cook, and we got to film that and send it in to the teachers for their activity. And then the exercise portion, we got to go to the track, and they had to do time miles, which was cool. They had to make cause and effect videos. That was fun as well. And then we did TikTok. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. TikTok is a series of random silly videos. We got to make a couple of those for assignments as well. So it was okay. It wasn't the same, and I don't feel they got the necessary pressure from education doing it this way. But I felt safe.
Do they have to report in? I mean, like in San Diego, for example, the kids have to they have to have a call in, you know, like at least twice a day. And I'm not quite sure how it works. They get, there's some individual attention. Some teachers are spending all day and more.
Yeah, some of our teachers are available for emails and video chats and text messages and everything. They've been amazing. And they've made the kids, they sent personal messages to each kid, not like personal messages to each kid, detailing, you know, because like I got 8th graders, and you know, they're not going to see those teachers again next year. They're going to high school, and the teachers were very, very nice messages to them about how great it was to have them as a student, how much they missed them. And the other thing that they did, they sent them information about the pandemic. So I thought that was really cool, because we talked about it, but you know, it's still kind of hard for kids to be like, well, I want to go see my friends, I want to go to the mall, and you can't.
You know, my daughter, my daughter sent me a message about 3-4 weeks ago, right in the middle of she was, you know, homeschooling her kids, right, and trying to work remotely. She has two, like a 1st grader and a 3rd grader. And so she says, well, it's going pretty good up here. But there has been some riots in the classroom, and the teacher has been suspected of drinking.
Oh,
it's true. It's true.
It's getting rough. It's getting rough. It is getting rough. Hey, John, we're coming up on 1 hour.
Yeah, we're at
it's really getting pleasure.
Well, if we get under the hour, we don't have to go through the whatever the auto grader is that YouTube.
Oh, okay. All right, son. I'll be signing off now.
I will as well. You guys have a great day. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thank you. All right.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, Jane.
Bye, Verdell. Love you.